We just witnessed ISO 2022 officially go live. Now, what does this mean for crypto? Well, some people think that it means absolutely nothing. Others think that it's going to cause XRP to go absolutely crazy. I'm in the middle of this, and ultimately, I don't think that it's nothing, and I don't think that it's going to affect price action the way that most people assume it to. So, I want to go over a few things and I want to really break this down. So, let's first start off with the announcement that we saw from Swift. So, Swift put out a post saying this weekend marks a major milestone in payments. The coexistence period between MT and ISO 2022 message standards ends from November 22nd. All financial to financial payment instruction messages will be delivered only in ISO 2022 format. ISO 2022 brings richer data, better compliance, and improved automation, but preparation is key to avoid NACT messages and operational delays. Be prepared for the weekend. All Fin and Fin Plus users are strongly advised not to send any message from Saturday to till Sunday, and to check Swift knowledge base for future details, troubleshooting guidelines, and contingency processing information. So this is basically, the update that, hey, ISO 2022 is officially here. Now I want to go over a few things. Number one, let's first start off with what ISO 2022, in my opinion, really is. I want to utilize this post from Smoke Dog because I do think that this is a very good way of looking at it. So, ISO 2022 is the missing piece interoperability with existing rails using standards such as ISO 22 to connect blockchain native settlement with traditional clearing systems. Banks now provide interoperability between their internal systems and blockchain using ISO 202 standards. Here we have the regulatory clarity side of things getting cleared up with MA and Genius. And then we have institutional infrastructure. Finally, the missing piece. Regulated financial infrastructure has matured. Banks and custodians now offer visual asset custody solutions, token issuance services, real-time reserve attestations, and then interoperability with existing rails using standards such as ISO 22 to connect blockchain native settlements with traditional clearing systems. Now, how does this work exactly? A new messaging center goes live, and all of a sudden we can now connect back to, blockchain based technology. No, absolutely not. That's not how things work. What this does and why we can now have major traditional players connect into blockchain and vice versa is the fact that data itself is now fully transparent. It's just exactly what JP Morgan said back in December of 2024. We have here from Swift. Is your institution ready to make the leap to ISO 222? JP Morgan Payments has shared invaluable insights into their successful adoption. They reveal how early preparation and clear strategy can future-proof your payments ecosystem. So here we have the ISO 2022 migration is key to future-proofing the payments ecosystem and unlocking the full potential of enriched data. Now, how exactly is this the key? What's really going on here? How can this make connecting to blockchain-based technologies and networks easier? Well, it's very simple. If we go back to the first post here from Swift, we have richer data, better compliance, and improved automation. What ISO really does in terms of this standard, okay, it allows for easier connectivity because the underlying language, the structure, the format, everything used for data globally is changing. It's standardizing it all. It's allowing for a clean, complete insight into how it can bridge and how these two worlds really work. When you have that universal data model, fragmentation is completely solved. There's no more fragmentation with data. It allows for a much more easier process. But also on top of that, ISO 22 is demanding the big banks and clearing houses and all of these platforms to upgrade their internal systems. It's a mandate that was never there before. So it allows for a much easier sell. This is from what, Bob Wee said for players like, for an example, Ripple or Stellar or Hedera or Chainlink. It doesn't matter any of those big players. Now it allows for an easier sell to onboard banks and bring banks into the ecosystem. That rich data is going to be crucial for blockchains to actually handle that data and break it down completely. Also with compliance, the compliance side of things, banks are now going to be able to have KYC and AML tapped in. You're going to be able to see the transactions transparently, right? Like all of this stuff is so crucial for the plug and play interconnectivity between blockchains and traditional financial systems. So at the end of the day, it's all about clean data. It's a much more easier, onboarding process when you have that transparent data. That's much more richer, and also, we have better compliance tied to it and improved automation. Now, when it comes back to this, we also had, another big bank, aka Bank of America, also mentioned how ISO 22 migration interconnects the global economy. Having structured data and streamlined payment systems has become increasingly important as the global economy gets more interconnected. ISO 222 was developed as a payment messaging standard to increase uniformity and connectivity between disparate market infrastructures. It has been widely adopted in 70 plus countries so far and by most major financial market infrastructures. In July 2025, Bank of America successfully implemented Fedwire Fund Service ISO 22 messages. This milestone for the global payments and USD clearing industry enables all USD clearing financial market infrastructures, FMI, Fed Wire Fund Services, and the Clearinghouse Interbank Payment System to communicate in a common language, improving interoperability with the other financial market infrastructures around the globe that adopted the ISO 22 format, such as SWIFT and T2 Euro clearing. Now, here is the key benefits, right? We have that structured data. It's crucial. We have the improved data on top of improved data. It makes messaging and all that kind of stuff more efficient. And just the entire breakdown here is the fact that it makes it a lot more easier. Like all of these messaging, all of these platforms, it allows for a much more easier onboarding process with new technologies. And what's crazy about this is guess who the first major bank is to have a full on migration? Here we have the excitement is building. The first banks have begun their big migration weekend to switch to the ISO 22 only era at SWIFT. Standard Chartered, that's right. Standard Chartered, one of the first major banks to put out a full PDF file on the ISO 22 migration process for corporate clients. It's crazy to see this coming from center. And I'll talk about why here in a moment. It's crazy to see this. Now, why is this so crazy? Because again, it's just another big bank, right? We just talked about JP Morgan. We just talked about Bank of America and how they have been ahead of the curve here. Standard Chartered is a big name because number one, they were a strategic investor into Ripple back in 2016. They know how crucial digitization is for the bank, right? They even mention it here and how Ripple is one of the most advanced DT companies in the industry with immense experience in financial services and compliance. By the way, this 2016, almost 10 years ago. But on top of that, right, we also have to remember that Sender Chartered, their Zodiac custody platform, joined Ripple's own Metaseco, which, by the way, is now Ripple Custody. That happened back in 2023. And then more recently, we know that back in April, Senator Chartered said that XRP can hit $12.50 by 2028, following ETF prospects and legal clarity. And here's their breakdown of this. So very interesting. Center Charter is very bullish on Ripple and XRP. Now, on top of that, I did make a post, and this goes back to April actually of this year, and I said 100% confirmation on how important ISO 22 will be from a major bank employee. This is the global head of transaction banking at Standard Chartered Bank. He stated that we can use ISO 2022 to bridge between traditional and decentralized finance. Because again, let's go back here. Interoperability with existing rails using standards such as ISO 2022 to connect blockchain native settlement with traditional clearing systems is now a possibility because of this standard, because of the data, enriching data, making sure everything is compliant, making sure everything is transparent. What's even more interesting is that they specifically mentioned Ripple and XRP alongside Circle's USDC. Standard Chartered was also an early investor into Ripple back in 2016. And so Custody Standard Chartered is a part of Ripple Custody. I didn't even state that Ripple was the first DT-backed company to become ISO 22 compliant. The connections are very significant here. And here we could use ISO 22 to bridge between traditional and decentralized finance. We see a very large number of payment service providers native on ISO 2022 and also quite a lot of coin providers. They include Circle USDC and Ripple's XRP. We could use ISO 2022 to bridge between traditional and decentralized finance. When you then take the rich data into that and combine it, you have almost the perfect innovation system. Very, very interesting. Now, what I find even more interesting is the recent move by Deutsche Bank and Standard Chartered Bank on April 21st, seeking to expand crypto operations. This isn't the first time that we have watched as major banks sounded the alarm on offering crypto based services, let alone Ripple connected banks. Bank of America's CEO back in January stated that they wanted to move in on the crypto based payments if regulators allowed it. It's very clear that we are watching as trading converges with the DeFi space in a large way, and it will be accelerated by names like Ripple using underlying DTS like the XRP ledger. Now is the time to really lock in and focus on utility based projects because the next wave won't just bring users, it will bring trillions of dollars too. Now, on top of this, right, we go back to some of those posts. Yeah, Bank of America, they wanted, regulators to allow for crypto based payments. Guess what we just got from the OC? The OC clears US banks to hold crypto on balance sheets for on chain operations. This move marks the biggest policy shift for the banking sector's relationship with digital assets since 2020. Banks can now hold crypto as a principal to pay for gas fees or to test crypto related systems. The decision overturns years of restrictive guidance and opens the door for major banks to engage directly with public blockchain networks. Think about how crazy this is. Okay, the timeline is wild because we got this on November 18th. 4 days later, ISO officially goes live at the same exact time that the big banks are all talking about crypto. They're all talking about DT, tokenization, stablecoins. Do you honestly think that it's a coincidence that all of these big banks are saying, hey, ISO 2022 is the key to future proofing payments and unlocking the full potential and all this kind of stuff about the future, payments landscape? And then you also have, Bank of America saying, oh, hey, this interconnects the global economy. This is great for streamlining the entire system. Then you also have Standard Charter, who basically told us exactly how crucial ISO 2022 is to bridge between traditional and decentralized finance at the same exact time that institutional DeFi is becoming a big deal. And then again, big banks telling us earlier this year, back in January, oh, hey, we want to jump into crypto payments if regulators allow it. And then we get the regulators literally allowing it 4 days before ISO 22 goes live. The timeline here is absolutely insane. But this is why we focus on the timeline. This is why we focus on these crucial updates from the big institutional players and what the big money players are telling us. We're not here to panic over every single sell off in this market. We're not here to get shaken out of this market. We're here to listen to what the big players are telling us. While the crypto market cap itself is just under $3 trillion, we have a lot more work to do here. But it's very exciting on where we are at right now in this market. So, with that being said, I hope that guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on, because for more free content, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.